Boom, baby. We got the BMF title back in action. We got Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. The rematch. The first fight was amazing. Pretty much straight violence with these two, which is, why they're in the running for this BMF title. That Jorge Masvidal is, he's retired, so they kind of relinquished that BMF title. And it seems like Dana White has come around to put it back on the line, because originally he was saying, it was a one and done. But obviously the news that came out with Francis Ngannou was pretty much at the same time. And as far as business goes, you can say this is one of those smart moves from Dana White, to try to do this kind of announcement at the same kind of time frame as Francis Ngannou signing to PFL. So I found that to be interesting, and I'm sure many other people did as well. But as far as just this fight goes, man, Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier is going to be amazing. This is like guaranteed violence, guaranteed high pace, high action. I think Justin Gaethje's become a lot smarter of a fighter over the years. In that last fight against Fiziev, he showed a lot more calculation than in the past, a lot more patience. And, I think Trevor Whitman deserves a lot of credit for that. But also, you got to give Gaethje credit for changing his mentality in the fire, where he can slow things down, be a little bit more technical, a little bit more smart. And it's been showing in his fights as of late. Poirier's been out for a little while. I guess kind of just waiting for something big to happen. Because he's one of those guys that kind of is in that same circle of like stardom, big money fights, super fights, stuff like that. So this is going to be really exciting. This whole card looks pretty good so far. They've added a lot of really good fights. They got Pereira coming back fairly short notice after being brutally knocked out, like fighting up a weight class now. I guess he officially made that move up to 205, fighting Jan Blachowicz, so that's kind of cool. And I think that's good for him, with how big he is for a middleweight. Cutting all that weight probably didn't help him. But I'm kind of curious to see what they do with this BMF idea, if they're just going to kind of do the same thing, like, oh, this is a one-off too, like, and then it's one of those things like, what makes a BMF? Like, is it just your fighting style? Is it the fact that you step up and fight anybody? Is it the fact that you're aggressive on the feet? And, you know what I mean? Like, what makes you a BMF? Like, there are different categories that kind of can fit that title as far as fighters go, but these two definitely fit in that area, that space, of course. I would say Dustin Poirier has a little bit better boxing, a little bit more tools on the feet as far as his switching stances, his straight punches, his length. Gaethje kicked up his legs and chewed those apart early in that first fight. I think that's a smart play, because Poirier does stand pretty heavy on his front foot. He doesn't move a crazy amount. Kind of is flat-footed, stays in that pocket, throws big boxing heavy punches. He throws kicks too. He definitely has really good leg kicks. But we did see Justin Gaethje shoot a takedown on Fiziev. Granted, Fiziev is a very fast, standout, explosive striker, and I think Gaethje kind of saw that, but he only really threw that one takedown to kind of seal that round at the end. But it makes you wonder if maybe he's thinking more about adding that to his game a little bit more when need be. I guess this wouldn't be the fight to do it, right? If you're the BMF, you probably don't want to display too much wrestling, although that's part of MMA, so shouldn't really have to be a thing. But it's one of those things, though, with the BMF. Like, if they're going to have it in one weight class, like, why can't they have it in another? I mean, I guess they answered that question already, right? Because this is a lightweight BMF fight. And originally it was Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz at welterweight. So now might be something where they bounce it around weight classes and they can kind of make one in each individual weight class. I think that would be a cool idea. I mean, if you're going to add a title, why not add it across the board? I mean, there's plenty of BMFs in flyweight, right? Plenty of BMFs in bantamweight. Like, think about it. I mean, who would be, like, what would be a bantamweight BMF fight? I'm trying to think. Like, who fits that mold, you know? Like, two guys that would fight that are BMFs. It's kind of hard to think straight off the top, but I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like Peter Yan would have been one if he didn't kind of go on that that skid. I feel like John Lineker would have been one for sure if he wasn't out of the UFC. It's kind of hard to tell, you know, because it's like I said before, it's like what puts that person in contention for a BMF. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think in each weight class would be a potential BMF title fight that makes sense? I guess go into each weight class. Let me know what you guys think, matchups, what BMF means to you, who fits that mold, and also who you think's going to take this fight, Dustin Poirier or Justin Gaethje. Boom.